to this session on value-driven artificial intelligence. My name is Vasconcelos and I'm the head of Digital Hub in EDP Group, but also Vice President of Data Science Portuguese Association. Today, we are witnessing a spread AI, both proof of concepts and pilots all over the market. But are we reaching the full value of AI? Scaling from pilots to true AI embedded processes with value generation for the business is still very challenging and only achieved currently by a few number of companies. This is precisely the topic that I intend to address in this session, supported by EDP's digital journey case. Developing a large number of AI pilots without going further and unlocking the promised value of AI may compromise top management focus and funding, and thus the enforcement of a true business transformation. According to McKinsey, only 1/3 of companies have a comprehensive process from pushing AI solutions from pilots to production. And if you can see the second number, it's even less than 1/4 of companies that are actually getting money from AI and reporting at least 5% of EBITDA from AI. So as you can see, a lot of companies are working on this field, but still just a few number of companies are actually getting the benefits and the expected value from AI. For those who might not know EDP so well, I'd just like to share with you. So EDP is a global company. Currently, we are present in 19 countries across all the value chain of the energy sector, meaning renewable generation, conventional generation, transmission, distribution, and retail. We have more than 10 million customers and around 12,000 employees. So as you can see, it's a complex group, a lot of different companies, a lot of different people. And when you think about how can we push digital and AI on such a group like this for a global company, of course, it's even more challenging to deploy a comprehensive digital transformation approach in this case. So what we did was, well, in 2017, we launched a program that we called at the time EDPX, with the main objective of identify everything that was being done in the digital at the time, and to define what could be a vision, a strategy for the digital applied to the entire group. This was exactly what we did at the time. By the end of that project, it was created a digital global unit, combining both the digital side but also the traditional IT department. We combine everything in this department, this digital global unit. And from the digital part, it was created both a digital hub, more focus on dealing with the global strategy for the digital for the entire group, and the digital factory, more focused on working and delivery a lot of new digital projects. As you can see, since then we already delivered more than 500 digital projects since 2017, and minimum viable products, the number reaches the 250. These projects were worked on these 3 different areas that we defined. Customer areas, more focused on retail, assets and operation, very focused on everything regarding to network generation, and enterprise, everything that is related more from the supported services, employees. So those 3 different areas where is exactly how we define our approach, our framework. And since then, we have been developing these projects according to these different dimensions. Just to show you how digital actually is a part of the global strategy of the company. This slide is from last year's EDP strategic update. As you can see, there are 5 pillars in our strategy, and one of them is exactly efficiency and digital. And just to share with you a number, 800 million euros is the capex that EDP Group is going to invest in digital from 2019 up to 2022. We are talking about 200 million euros per year in these 4 years, just for digital things. We really want to push all the big digital wave that we want to prepare the company to be what we call an utility digital. Just to share now a little bit more deep on AI, which is of course it's a topic of this session. Since then, and since 2017, when we created this digital global unit, we started to work with a lot of different digital technologies, but always very focused on AI. And since then, as you can see, we already worked on more than 100 AI initiatives. Just 50 of them, more or less half of them, were worked this year, just this year, 2020. And it's very interesting because, as you know, this is very challenging because we already have the pandemic and all the challenging having people working at home. But even though we get work a lot this topic and have this big number, the 50 new AI initiatives in 2020. Now, I would like to share with you four real examples, 4 real projects that we have developed and that we are using, and also how did these projects also change the way we used to do things. I have 4 different cases, one on vision, other on speech, more on the perception side of AI. On the cognitive side of AI, I also have another one for language, another one for knowledge. So starting with the vision use case, as you can see, this is a real project. This is mainly a real-time computer vision analytics on video. The main objective, of course, is to maximize the security of our technicians. So what we are doing is putting AI vision on top of the video and getting some metadata. The objective is making sure that we are using, in this case, the technician is using the helmet, the glove, how everything is being done to make sure that we can improve the safety of the people that work with us and also the safety of our people. This is a real case. This is mainly, as I said, AI vision analytics over the video. Typically, these type of things were being done sometimes from some audit processes. Sometimes, of course, there is a checklist of different things that need to be done. But in this case, what we are doing here is to increase a new layer, a more real-time one, where we can see if everything is all right. If not, there is some warning, and then the technician needs to do something to make sure that it can proceed with operations. Another example, it's now focused on speech, on voice. This is a very interesting case. As you may know, typically now we are changing our meters to smart meters, meaning that there is a lot of technology there, and the meters can basically communicate all the data from the consumptions of the customer, but also to receive information to do some small operations on the meter. But for customers that still don't have these new meters, we have a lot of inflow of communications, mainly in our contact center, but also through our apps or even retail shops, of people that periodically, typically each month, share with us the consumptions of the meter. And so what we developed here, as you can see, it's a new feature on EDP commercials here in Portugal app. It was at the time EDP Online, but now it's EDP Zero, new app. And this feature typically allows for customers to provide meter readings by voice comments instead of typing. And this is actually a very interesting case, because in a lot of cases it's difficult to see the numbers, because sometimes there is no light near the meter. So there was a lot of issues typically on trying to write down and to see those numbers. And if you can just see, and you can just say to the app, you just press a button in your smartphone, and everything, it will be completely incorporated in our app, and everything, of course, then is completely automatically to our CRM systems, and then it will going to have impacts in the billing for the customer. So it was a new feature that is already being implemented. The feature was developed, of course, everything based to be completely and fully integrated in the app that we already have. And nowadays our customers are already using this. So another example of AI, now more related with voice analytics. Another case that I would like to share with you is language. There are a lot of different use cases here. We have been working a lot in chatbots. We started our chatbot journeys with relationship with our external partners. Also in Brazil, we also have chatbots for providing services, human resources services for employees, and we already have some features, of course, now for customers. This is an example from the EDP Online, which is our customer tool, our customer service tool for our customers in Portugal. And as you can see here, we developed a chatbot, a virtual assistant, of course, available 24/7 days per week, enabling the customer to self-care operations with a natural language chat interface. And this is very interesting, not only because of the efficiency, but also what we realized there was an increase on customer satisfaction. This is very, very important, of course, in terms of engaging with the customers, but also because when we do this type of things and the customers like these things, we can decrease the number of calls or whatever, number of interactions of customers asking us things that probably they can just interact to a chatbot. And of course, in more simple cases, because of course, if it's more complex, of course, we need to speak or to interact with the customers. But this is a very interesting case where we actually saw not only the efficiency, but also an increase in customer satisfaction. My last use case, it's more focused on knowledge, on machine learning. There are a lot of cases here. I just like to share with you a different case. Probably this case is very focused on trying to increase the accuracy of the forecasting of prices in markets from our trading area. As you can see, we develop different algorithms per different time horizons with the objective of reducing the mean average error between our forecast and the real numbers. And this very interesting number of increase of 17%. And when we get this type of improvements in terms of, in this case, this is for the head energy prices forecasting for Mibel, the type of benefits that we can get from this type of models, it's very, very relevant. And as you can see, this is a model that was defined, but also it is being used to in the daily operations to actually have a better view on how probably are the prices to evolve in the near future. So I had these 4 different cases to share with you, real cases that we developed in the Digital Global unit, and of course they are being used in different business units. But the question that you may have right now is, but what was the game changer that helped this project to scale into business operations? And to answer this question, I would like to use a classic framework, but still, I believe that it still addresses in a very clear way this challenge. So, data and technology, people, and processes. When we are typically thinking about pilots, we are typically very focused on technology. In this case, because it's AI, the data, it's very, very relevant. And so typically the key factors that we are typically or that we have in our minds when we are thinking about pilots is something about do we have the right digital cloud infrastructures? Do we have data? And if yes, that data has quality or not, we need to work on the data side. And also we typically want sometimes to try to create some automatisms, and sometimes we are literally worried about data ingestion. How can we put the machine working on? So typically when we are thinking about pilots, a lot of effort and worries are typically around data and technology. But we know that if we really want to get money and to get the benefits from the AI, we need to make sure that we change the business process, because there's where the money is. So to reach that, I believe that it's very, very important to have the people engage, involved from the very, very beginning. And in here, the people, it's not the people more technical, the ones that are developing the models. Of course, it's very important still to have the digital or data scientist skills inside the company, because if not, we are going to have a project, but then you don't have the tools and the knowledge to keep and to maintain and to continue to make sure that the models will incorporate and will have the feedback loop that is very critical to make sure that the results still working on with the accuracy that we want to have. But the most important thing is to have the people that are going to use those models on the process. So people from the business completely engaged from the very beginning, to have an innovation mindset. And this involvement, it's very important, I'd say, in 2 different factors. The first one is because they are changing the way they are doing things, they need to feel very comfortable. They need to have some level of trust with the model. This is very, very important. This is why they should be involved from the very beginning, but to know exactly what the model does, and at least to start understanding a little bit, because sometimes the models are sometimes a black box, but what are the type of outputs, how more or less it works. And also because if we really want people from the business, to use that information in the business, they need to have some maybe interfaces, whatever. They need to access the data from the models in a way that those people can actually work with this data, which typically it's not something that comes from CSVs or Excel files. This is typically not the best way. So people, it's very, very important. And then when you have the model with data and technology, you have the people engaged from the very beginning, I believe that's when it's possible to adopt new ways of working, make the transformation that we need to do in the processes, and of course, very, very important, keep measuring outputs and benefits to make sure that the models are really delivering the value that were more or less defined, or that was studied in the very beginning, because that is also a key important lever to make sure that people continue adopting and using those models in their new daily routine. So I would say that the main framework would be not thinking only in technology, but mainly focus on people and how people can actually change their processes. And only when we are actually changing process is only there when we are getting some EBITDA that I share with you at the very beginning. So now, and this is my last case. This is a more complex one. It's not a minimum viable product as the ones that I showed you before. This is more like a program. This is a very interesting case where we developed machine learning analytics for changing the way the investing planning and operation and maintenance planning were done, mainly by developing two models, one of the health index and the other one is the probability of failure, applied into three different assets from our distribution company. But what I'd like to share with you is not exactly this case, but it's more the approach. So from the very beginning, we involved 70 people from the business in this project. So people that by the end of the model, by the end of the project, were the ones that were going to use those outputs in their new daily routines. So they were very engaged. They participated in the model development, one thing. And the other one, as you can see here on the bottom, they also contribute to define what type of outputs, what were the dashboards that, based on the information that comes from the models, how should this information be to make sure that afterwards it was in a way that they could use it in order to change their routines and their processes. This is just to if I can give you a number. Typically, there is a number something like this, which is when we are going to work on AI or a machine learning project. Typically, it's around 70, sometimes 80% working on the data and just 20-30% working on the model. If we go a little bit further, not only the model, but we thinking about involving the people from the very beginning, defining, asking them what are the outputs, and then helping them to change the business processes. If we put this, I would say that the first part, the model, which is something 80-20 or 70-30%, developing the model itself, I would say that probably we are just speaking about, 30-40% of the effort, because more than half, it's very focused, all the different workshops, all the different interactions that we need to do with the business people. And this is how we really can change and scale from what we could call a very good pilot with a very good accurate results to something that has been completely put inside the business processes, and in a way it was a change in the way people were doing things, and because of that we are really going to get the benefits. And to finish, this is my last slide. I just like to reinforce the importance of artificial intelligence in the future of companies, as you can see here from Accenture and McKinsey. But as you can see, I really think that even having right now a lot of different pilots, and based on these reference consultants, as you can see, the importance of AI in the near future, I still think that it's still very challenging. How can we go from today's reality, from something that we really know that is going to be completely widespread, but we know that it's more difficult because it's not something that is being done, for instance, from a specific department with a very technical, but typically more or less the same type of skills, when we need to integrate that with the business units, we really need to combine different skills, different type of people, and to have a multidisciplinary team to make sure that from the development to the people and to the adoption in the business process, we really can have all these paths, and because of that, we really can get the real value of the AI. And so I'd like to thank you, to wish everyone the greatest success in your digital journey. I hope you have enjoyed and wish you a great conference promoted by Data Science Portuguese Association. And once more, thank you very much.